You are listening to The Underground Subway with host David Alston, a podcast dedicated to giving you the strategies to live a free and better life. Here is David Alston.
Hello, I'm David Alston, and welcome to the Underground Subway. I'm your host for this podcast in which we discuss ways to live a better and more productive life. We will no longer be held by the chains that have been holding us for many years. As we discuss every podcast, in order to be free, we must experience true liberty and freedom. Freedom simply means being free from the restraints, the chains that hold us back. And so, because of that, we will be free. We need to be free mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, across the board. What do I need to do so that I can live a life where the chains of restraint, the ability to speak free, to live free, to operate and to function free? No longer are the chains going to be holding us. The late, great Harriet Tubman said, I could have freed so many more people if only they knew that they were not free, if only they knew they were slaves. Well, my friends, we are exposing the things that will give us the revelation and the knowledge that maybe I was being held back and didn't know it. Maybe I was being restrained and didn't know it. Maybe something was holding me back and I didn't know it. But now that I know it, I'm going to take those steps. As we often say, I'm going to put in my personal GPS system where I am, where I'm going, how long it's going to take to get there, and what steps or what route do I need to take to get there. And when I get there, I will be free, not just myself, but my family, my children, my nieces, my nephews, my grandchildren, everyone around me, my friends, even my enemies. I want everyone to be free. And so this podcast is dedicated to freedom, is dedicated to liberty, is dedicated to doing the things that we need to do to be free. This particular podcast, I have a special guest with me. This special guest is going to talk to us from their area of expertise. There's some things that I know, there's some things that I like to discuss, but I like to bring guests on that really know they're specialists in certain areas to help us in areas of freedom such as our mental freedom, areas of freedom as far as our spirituality. What do I need to do to be free? The burdens of my past, the burdens of the chains that were holding me. This particular podcast is one that is special to me, and we're going to talk about how do I become free and liberated, and what do I need to do physically? It makes no sense to be free, in my mind, and yet my body is bound up. My body, I can't really enjoy myself. It makes no sense to have all the money in the world and you can't get out the bed because you're hurting and tired and overweight and out of shape. And we're going to talk about that on this podcast. And so, without any more delay, I want to welcome my special guest tonight, Nicole Hossain, who is an expert in this area of physical freedom, physical liberty. Welcome, Nicole. Thank you for joining the Underground Subway. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me today, David. I'm grateful to be here on the Underground Subway, and I'm really looking forward to speaking into freedom and liberty for us, our people in the future. Thank you.
Yes, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're located, and just tell us who you are and a little background, and then we're going to really get into this.
All right. Well, yes, thank you for the introduction. My name is Nicole Hossain. I am born and raised in Canada. I live in Toronto, Ontario. I've got two boys under the age of 4, married, and we live in a home that is perfect, the perfect size for all of us. And I work now virtually due to the closures from the facilities I was actively participating in. I used to work in a gym for many years. I began as a coach in 2017 for fitness.
Mhm.
And as someone who's enjoyed free expression, um, vocal expression, and I'm an audio learner. I went to school and I was really good at retaining information from an audio vantage. I found my clients that pursued my type of coaching style really embraced the the communication component, and so it was a lot of movement and a lot of listening, and I was able to articulate abstract concepts and parallel them with body movement and techniques. And when gyms closed, I recognized the value that is what is an asset to be able to communicate in that fashion, that I was actually supporting my clients and members in their fitness mindset, in that growth and success mindset, how to break free from whatever the inhibition was for them in that given moment and identify their goals and what steps were necessary to achieve them. So we're bridging the gap between mental, physical, and spiritual fitness, and just identifying that they are all connected. And yes, with almost, I guess, 17 years now being in the business, I'm happy to say that it has been a major passion of mine from early on in the movement space, and has really transcended to a very holistic space for me now. Thank you.
That's wonderful. You said something that really caught my attention. Explain to us, you said you're from Toronto. Although I live in North Carolina, I'm originally from Philadelphia. And there was a movie out years ago called Philadelphia with Denzel Washington and Tom Hanks. And Denzel was an attorney. And when he got his the witnesses on the stand, in order to clarify, he would often say, "Explain it to me like I'm a 4-year old or a 6-year old." And I love that line because it enables us to really understand at the base, the foundation. So I want to ask you this question. I want you to explain it to me like I'm a 6-year old. You said that there is a connection between the physical, the emotional, and the spiritual. How would you explain how my emotional and spiritual side tie into whether I am physically operating at my best?
I would explain it in a way that has you focus on any repetitive action that you're completing in any area of your life. So potentially with a 4-year-old or a 6-year-old, I might say when you're walking in a straight line, that your ability to walk straight might support your ability to go directly to your goal. It might support your being what would be efficient, that you save time and that you're focused on your goal and you go straight to your mark. Someone who might be walking, uh, they're not able to share the sidewalk per se. Let's use that reference, share the sidewalk.
Mm-hmm.
I use that reference with my 3-year-old when we're walking down a sidewalk, and I want to prepare him for some oncomers. And I say,
Mm-hmm.
all right, let's share the sidewalk. And someone who's not in a position to do that might find that they are walking into obstacles. They might find that they are, without intention, uh, putting themselves in a position to collide with something oncoming, and potentially it doesn't serve them. And for my son, when I simplify, I explained to him what it would mean if he was walking in someone else's path and they bumped into each other. You know,
Okay.
what would the
Right.
possible outcome be? You might find yourself, you might hurt yourself, you might hurt them, you might take longer to get to your destination. And so we kind of, it's again extrapolating such a simple concept that is walking in a straight line versus not being able to share, not be able to reserve a single path. That might be symbolic to how someone is navigating their mental space, that they're inefficient potentially, or they're, you know, a little bit all over the place, might need some organization. And likewise in the spiritual space where they might be lacking direction.
Right, exactly. I like that answer. What about obstacles? Because you mentioned obstacles. What would you say in your years of experience is the number one obstacle that people face in regard to setting their physical goals?
I would say the number one obstacle that people face with regards to physical goals, that the consistency
Mm-hmm.
seems to be the most reoccurring discussion topic that I have with members or anyone looking to improve their lifestyle. It's consistency. And somewhere along the line, there was a belief system put in place that supported individuals believing that they did not have to be consistent in order to see success, that there was room to uh, take breaks or potentially
Right.
change goals for a limited amount of time and to get back into the original focus at a later time. Something
Mm-hmm.
about a temporary pit stop, if you will. And I believe that language supports that there's room for what would be a pit stop, but not that you would take a completely new route or that you would decide to fold up the map and throw it away. So I think it's a misconception. It's consistency, but there's just this mass misconception of
Mm-hmm.
what that means. What is consistency? I think people are lost in that space.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you personal. When I say personal, I'm talking about myself. I would think that originally I thought that, and maybe I'll explain this the best way I can. Maybe you can help me and help our listeners. Um, you work out at the gym, you work out at the gym, you work out at home, you go back to the gym, you work out at home, you look in the mirror and you see no results. And so you feel like, okay, I'm just through. I'm just going to eat what I want to do. I'm not going to work out. That's one side of it. Myself, there have been times when I went to the gym, worked out at home, went to the gym, worked out at home, went to the gym, looked in the mirror and say, wow, I'm starting to see something here. I'm starting to get buffed. Now I could take a break. Which one is more dangerous, taking that break when you see results or taking that break when you don't see results?
Ooh, okay. Yes, I believe that in both instances, the break may not serve in terms of timing, but it likely is the case that taking the break before seeing the results is far too early. They've not identified a time frame that is associated with getting the results. So now they've got nothing to attach their concept of success to versus the person who's witnessed the how effective taking action can be, and now they've at least got a minimum time frame required before they can take a break, or at least when they do begin again, that they can commit to that time frame. Because where there is that commitment, potentially there's a consistency, there's an approach that is regulated and it has a time frame. And we're talking about goal setting here, and that
Mm-hmm.
it's required to create specific details in what you would like to achieve in your goal and set a time frame in accordance with that for us to see success. And so I believe that the person who's seen some progress and takes a short break is probably better off than the person who's not seen any progress at all.
Got you. So what about that person that, what do you think is more important in our development physically? Is it the fact that we exercise more, or is it the fact that we lay off of the cheesecake? And, I'm looking around because I'm guilty, I go to work and I actually drive halfway to work, park my car at the local mall, and then catch the bus the other half to work. But then when I get off work, I catch the bus to the mall to get my car, and my car happens to be parked right in front of the Cheesecake Factory. And so I feel like, one slice of cheesecake is not going to hurt. So, but in your opinion, on that scale, which one is more important if I want to live a healthy lifestyle? Is it watching what I eat versus the exercise, or is it exercise, or is it 50-50? What do you think about that?
I like that there is room to embrace the things that we love and enjoy. I think it's necessary for our mental health to identify what will infuse a positive experience, what will infuse this experience with positivity and joy and have it correlated with uh, happiness. And I think that it's necessary to integrate what is both the figurative and the literal cheesecake. Although, again, when we go back to the specific goals, it's necessary to have a time frame on the cheesecake. So if we
Right.
attach it to emotion,
Hmm.
then it's going to fluctuate much the way that we would fluctuate if we didn't have a schedule or some structure. And a big part of the ability to, I want to say, condition the mind and the body has to do with the structure that you implement and how consistently you follow it. So, in the space of discipline, the cheesecake doesn't serve if it's an emotional decision, but the cheesecake would serve if it was intentionally integrated at a checkpoint,
Gotcha.
much the
Okay,
way
that's
a
very
pit
good.
stop.
Right,
Right.
like that. I like that. Sort of like a. Are you saying sort of like a reward type?
Yeah, but we again like specifying when we can
Right.
celebrate. Like, what are we celebrating? Are we celebrating a time frame? So many days of going
Right.
into the gym? Are we celebrating a certain uh, value of measurement on our body fat percentage or our overall weight? We want to recognize that food is a source of fuel, and if we affiliate it with uh, some sort of reward system, then we lose sight of the fact that it's necessary. And
Gotcha.
with
Okay.
the cheesecake, it's not necessary. So in that component, we're recognizing, okay, this particular type of food is to be enjoyed after you reach said mark on the journey. And then we have something to look forward to. And it creates delayed gratification, which supports success as well. So
Mhm.
yeah, there's room for it. We just want to make sure that we implement a strategy or a structure. And in business, we're familiar with that concept. And in our historical background, we recognize where strategy plays an integral role to success. You know, we have to have some guideline to follow that's
Mhm.
not emotional. And so I think
Wow, that's good.
absolutely there's room for this. There's room for it. We just have to make a plan and recognize the goal and the steps to get there.
That's good. You really I know this is a podcast, but I feel like I'm in a in a training session, in a nutritional training session because I'm really writing down a lot of things. That's good because sometimes I go through moments when I say, you know what, I have got to have an Oreo. I've got to have Oreo cookie. I'm just craving an Oreo. And then when I eat a few of them, I sit back and say, okay, that's over with. I don't want them anymore. And so I think what you're trying to say is how important our mental focus plays into our physical well-being. If I'm correct, if I'm reading what you're saying correctly, I might it is a correlation what you think and how you act. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is the type of language that when I exchanged with the clients and the members that were participating in physical movement with me, that they were identifying how clear this message was being delivered to them. And at the time, I was oblivious as I was trying to offer support in the realm of movement and adhering to the structures of movement. And wow, when I recognized it was broad scale, it really does what you're saying that you're experiencing. I want to thank you, David, because I didn't know that this was the effect that I was having for so many years. And I'm grateful to be in a place I've arrived at. I recognize how impactful it is.
Mm-hmm. Uh, I hope I don't get in the left field. I'm not going. Well, we'll go to left field, but we'll come back. You're in Toronto. I'm in the States, and over the past few days here in the States, we've experienced some traumatic situations with shootings of children. Recently, and a few days ago, 19 children were murdered at an elementary school. And for me, and for others that have small children, grandchildren, nieces, and nephews, it's been a very emotional time for a lot of people because I sat at work yesterday and I looked at my granddaughters who are 4 and 2 years old, and I began to get emotional thinking it could have been them. My question is, Nicole, in dealing with, I have a lot of people that are dealing with a lot of death, a lot of loss of family members. How does that affect us physically?
That's a great question, David. Thank you. I want to recognize the experience that anyone has when they're going through loss, and these families of the 19 children and what is a traumatic experience that everyone who's involved and who's not involved, who's witnessing and hearing about this devastating event is going through, and my condolences to the families. And it really is something that requires us to go through the stages of healing, because loss has a specific effect on our mind that correlates with how we function, how our bodies function when you're under stress, when you're producing stress hormones,
Mm-hmm.
whether that affects your appetite. Some people respond by choosing to have more than they need, others respond by choosing to have less than they need to function, or potentially they don't need the same amounts to function anymore because they're not functioning at the same levels of intensity. And what what has been communicated to me in the past was that movement supports surrender to what is. When we consider a space in our lives where it feels like we don't have control, where we don't have a grasp of our reality, where we might be navigating what is a very unknown space, that movement supports surrender and grounding with our spirit. Movement allows us to hear our inner voice or our intuitive voice that guides us to what's best for the goals we said we wanted to achieve. So if you put into the universe, whether you're someone who writes down your goals or your thoughts, or you're someone who communicates your thoughts regularly, or you have a vision board, everyone's got these different modalities these days. And I think if you're someone who does that, then likely the case is if you've made it a reality in terms of a goal, a vision, or something tangible on paper, likely your intuition is giving you guidance from where you are now that will bridge the gap to where you'd like to be. And my business coach references bridging the success gap. And so supporting you with identifying what are those steps in between where you are today, where you are currently, and where you plan to be, where you'd like to go. And those steps in between, we go through so many stages. When it's loss, there's so many overwhelming stages that take place. When we're overwhelmed, when the emotions take over and we don't know what these emotions, energy, and motion represent, we don't understand what the message is trying to tell us. I believe movement supports surrendering to that clear message and clearing all the what would be distraction,
Right.
because potentially you're just too tired at that stage once you've fatigued enough that you can clearly receive the message
Mm-hmm.
and be closer to peace, if I may say that.
Right. In the couple of minutes we have left, I want to get in shape. I want a better life. I want to be better physically. What's the first thing? I can get to the next level and next level. What's the first step? The first thing you would recommend that I do to start living a better life physically?
The first thing you can do to live a better life physically is write out specifically what your goal is, specifically what it looks like, what it smells like, what it tastes like, what you're going to wear, how you're going to feel, how is your life going to change around that, or where you're going to live. Write it all out specifically and get very clear on the time frame that you would like to achieve it in. Get very clear on what the details are surrounding this goal. And I tell you, the second you do that, the second you write it all out, whether you got to cut out pieces of paper or take pictures of before and afters, the second you get it all out on paper, you will identify and tap into that vision, because you'll have vision. And it's only when you have vision that it becomes clear what those next steps are. And a lot of people at that point will just ask for help. I'll say the number one thing people don't do is ask for help.
Right.
so,
Right.
so like there's a really quick, you know, approach to finding resolve in bridging the success gap between where you are today and where you want to be. You write it all out. It's clear to you, and then you just ask someone for help, and just like that, you're closer than you ever would have been if you had no idea what to do. And and you needed just that one thing, that would be it.
That's great. I really appreciate it. Tell us a little about where we can hear more of you, or get in touch with you, what have you.
Yes, thank you, David. So right now I'm on Instagram as Nicole Hosang Fitness. That's one word. There's no hyphens. Nicole Hosang Fitness, and I'm also newly on YouTube as Holistic Nikki. That's HOLISTICNIKKI. Holistic Nikki, where you'll see a vlog style rant on all the things that come to mind that I speak freely into. and and I'm also looking to potentially. Uh, I aspire to be a podcast host at some point, but in the meantime, Instagram and YouTube are where you can reach me. I'm also on Facebook, Nikki Hosang, NIKKIHO-SANG, and right now that's where it's busy, and I get to stay interactive with the community, and anyone can reach out and ask any questions, and they'll have my support for sure.
All right. Well, thank you, Nikki. I know I'm definitely going to hit you up on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube and hear some of your rants.
I look forward to it. Thank you, David.
I want to thank you for joining us. This has really been inspirational, and I've got a piece of paper, well, a whiteboard, and I've just been writing all kind of things down. Uh, I'm just learning, and I'm excited about my next goals, and I'm writing my goals down and everything. And Nikki, thank you so much for joining me and joining us. Uh, just the fact you took time out of your busy schedule. I can only imagine with a little one or more than one little one, it was a sacrifice. I'm sure they wanted to be a part too.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You bet. Yeah, they wanted to be here, but I'm glad we were able to uh, share space, and I appreciate your energy, David. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. To our listeners, thank you for joining us. This has been a wonderful podcast. Listen, hit Miss Nikki Hosang up on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. She has given us a lot of very powerful things, some great information. I wish we all could be free. And when we get together with wonderful guests like Ms. Nikki Hosang, who has really inspired us, I'm ready. I've got my dumbbells right beside me. While she was talking, I was doing some tricep lifts. I was working out. I was trying to get it done. I'm inspired. My friends, we got to be free. We got to live another day, live another hour so that we can be effective members of our community. Thank you for joining the Underground Subway. This has been a special one that I'm going to keep playing. I want you to keep playing it. Get the word out. We're going to be free. Listen, my friends, tonight, before you go to bed, I challenge you to look yourself in the eye. Find a mirror. Look yourself in the eye and ask yourself, did I do something today to work toward my physical goals? Did I work something to make myself better physically? Or did I waste another day? I'll see you next time right here on the Underground Subway. I'm David Austin. Thank you for joining us.